In the wake of the shooting of 2 cops in Ferguson, Missouri, defenders of the cops are saying that this is precisely what the protesters have wanted all along, ever since the shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown by Darren Wilson last August. Here is the leader of the St. Louis Police Officers Association giving across that theory.
Well, I'm sickened by this whole thing, and I don't know what people expected. We've perpetuated one lie after another to mollify those that want to see cops dead. I kept hearing yesterday, the protesters finally got what they wanted. Chief Jackson stepped down. They didn't get what they wanted earlier yesterday when Tom stepped down. They got it late last night when they finally successfully shot 2 police officers.
A curfew would be interesting because doesn't anyone have anyone working today? Why are you rallying at midnight outside a police station about something that happened that you should be happy about? The 6th person's been forced to resign. There's been the Justice Department just ruled in a way in which I imagine was right up your alley. What else do you want?
And how do you enforce that curfew right now?
Dead cops, that's what they want. You arrest everyone that doesn't go home. And let's not pretend like they wanted Tom Jackson's resignation or that they're still mad because Mayor Knowles is there. They want dead cops, and that was their goal all along, and that was their goal last night.
There's a lot that I despise in that clip, but let me start with what they want. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not making a racial statement here, right? I don't think they refers to all black people, okay? I think it's a fair assumption that it could, but that's not what I'm talking about. When he says, this is what they want, even if he's just referring to the community, or even more specifically, just referring to the protesters, well, if they wanted that, well, they could have shot cops on day one.
Yeah.
They all could have done the shoot. Every one of them could have brought a gun, and they could have mowed all the cops down. I mean, we have more guns in this country than we know what to do with. We have approximately 250 million guns in this country. If they wanted that, they could have done it, and they could have done it in mass. Obviously, they didn't want that. One guy who did the shooting wanted that. What do they want? They want like mass punishment, and they want to take away their First Amendment rights. What the guy said near the end of the clip? He said, they should have all been arrested before the shootings. I mean, after the shootings, of course you disperse it. There's been violence, there's been shootings, and it dispersed immediately anyway. There was shootings, everybody ran home, right? He's talking about when they showed up to protest at midnight, they should have all been arrested.
Because
they've been saying that since August. If you lived in North Korea,
you're absolutely right, but that's not how we do things around here.
Because they didn't have, as Brian Kilmeade started that clip off, because don't they have jobs in the morning?
No,
exactly.
No, they're black.
Yeah.
That's what he was implying.
By the way,
that's exactly what he was implying.
That's 100% what he was implying.
That's the thinly veiled racism.
That's the one
I see right through that veil. So what that said is that, the bunch of blacks out there, they got no jobs. They're no good people. They're out there just causing trouble, agitating the good white cops of Ferguson. Yeah. That's exactly what Brian he was
He's
said
right.
that.
That's right, Brian Kilmeade.
Was Brian Kilmeade going to Tea Party rallies to check people's work schedules when they take a weekend off or a week off to go in a co-funded
Bundy, they
bus?
would all pull a double shift, and then they would go to Clive and Bundy's for the 3rd shift, and then they'd go back to work.
We're not being fair because Brian Kilmeade supports an enormous government jobs program that would target hard-hit communities like Ferguson.
Specifically to stop them from exercising their democratic rights, which is nice of him. Okay, we've got a little bit more Brian Kilmeade. Let's see what he says in this clip.
This is the most predictable outcome that you could possibly imagine. Basically, people have been pouring gasoline on this community for the last 3 months. I'm surprised it hasn't even happened more, sadly, and it's so reminiscent of what happened in New York. You keep telling people how unjust things are. You keep telling people how bad cops are, and you're basically baiting the lunatics to come in here with a gun.
Yes, if you keep reporting accurately back what's happening in the community, like a news organization, things are going to go apeshit. But what's happening at Fox, they never report back accurately. So what they're doing, he says, I'm surprised this hasn't happened before. I'm surprised too, especially since that police organization has been oppressing them in a racist manner for about 30 years. I'm surprised it's just now that so he's totally takes the focus off where it should be. The focus should be on what's happened over the last 30 years. Instead, it's like an adult child of an alcoholic. Instead of being angry at the people doing injustice in their community, he's angry at the people who are reporting the injustice in the community.
Now, I'm going to ask you to do something hard, and that's follow Brian Kilmeade's logic. He says, you've been goading this community, as Jimmy points out, by telling them the truth about what's happened. He's not disputing the Justice Department report. It's not Justice Department didn't make it up. they did systematically.
Just very quickly, Cenk, in the previous report, he talked about the Justice Department report when it suited his argument.
Yeah.
You just got a report that was super favorable that said the police department was racist and forced them to do it.
Yes.
Like he acknowledged the report. Continue.
So he's basically saying, if you follow his logic, okay, you shouldn't have told people that the cops were oppressing the black community there, were systematically targeting them as opposed to white people, whether it was traffic stops, arrests, and all this. You shouldn't have told them that. Once we found out how badly we were treating people, we should have just shut up and not said anything, because then otherwise, you're going to have people that are getting shot.
And
by the way, I'm sorry, if we're to follow that logic just one step further, now that I think it through even more, well, under that logic, Fox News obviously should never tell anyone anything bad that President Obama's done.
Yeah.
Because then you are encouraging people to take action against the president and the government of the United States. God knows what could happen. Why are you telling them things that are wrong with Obama? What's wrong with you guys? Shut down the whole station.
Well, and actually specifically to the cops, I mean, they have been telling people ever since Obama was first elected that they are going to come and they're going to send the federal agents and cops to take your guns. They're specifically saying that you can't trust cops. And so they're selectively outraged about ambushes. Yeah. We've seen ambushes for 8 years now. We've seen people who call cops to their house or first responders, and then they gun them down. Now, yes, they're not young black people gunning down cops. They're white veterans of Vietnam and stuff like that. Fox doesn't seem to care about that. But that seems like a direct result of telling crazy people that your fundamental rights are going to be taken away by a government out of control.
It's a dream come true for Fox when someone who they can paint as a liberal protester takes a shot at a cop. That's what they want. That's their ideal situation. If it were 1965 and not 2015, if it were 50 years ago and Fox News had been on the air, Brian Kilmeade would have used the word agitators. He would have talked about these agitators coming in. Look, I'm because his thing is don't complain. Don't complain if you see injustice. So he would have said, look, I got it. You don't have the right to vote. I got it. That's a problem. Enough with the complaining. Dr. King, I hear you. I like your message, but
I want to bring up a shot from the Clive and Bundy time, like that they were pointing their guns at the federal agents, and Fox was putting up every day saying these are patriots. Look at them; they're willing to shoot and kill government officials.
John, there's a significant difference there too, because these guys, go back to Ruby Ridge and Waco, and the positions that conservatives dug in and took there. Those were federal agents. Those are federal cops, and those are the cops they don't like. I mean, we're going to hear in the next clip, we go right from Fox hosts furious at the agitators who badly wanted to shoot cops, but somehow only had one guy hundreds of feet away managing. Bad meeting.
After 7 months.
It probably was a meeting, and they did pick that guy. Jerry, you're going to take the shots at the cops today, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're going to go to another clip from Fox where they're going to rip the top cop in the nation. Because again, it's the federal cops, the state cops and local cops, municipal police officers, city police, they'll stand by. But if it's a federal badge, same risk, same kicking down doors, same burden of proof, same everything, Fox will rip them to shreds. Those are dangerous. That's what Gordon Liddy did when he called them jackbooted thugs who ought to be taken out. They supported every single, they supported Randy Weaver at Ruby Ridge, and obviously some of them with David Koresh.
Last night, the police chief resigned. This was on the heels of the report that the Department of Justice put out. The Department of Justice has been inflaming this, as Lou points out, for a long time, and they couldn't bring charges against Darren Wilson because the physical evidence of Darren Wilson's testimony corroborated and matched up. So they had to do something because they intervened and they flamed the racial tensions, and Eric Holder has proven time again, he is an attorney general for the criminal, by the criminal, and of the criminals in the United States of America. And it's the way he handles immigration as well. They have taken this country back 50 years in terms of race relations.
By pointing out things that have actually happened, how the cops have systematically oppressed the black community in Ferguson, with detailed evidence, right? We have set race relations. The cops who did the discrimination didn't set race relations back. Okay, by pointing out that they did the discrimination, the Justice Department set relations back 50 years ago. Now, the reality is, of course, Fox News would love it if we set race relations back 50 years. Then they'd be like, yes, we're back in charge. Then we get to discriminate and crush. And if somebody wants to cross a bridge, hit them over the head with a baton and tell them to know their place and their role. And we get to be back in charge again. They would love to set race relations back 50 years.
Yeah.
They hate it when you expose what's wrong. That clip by
50,
Tantaros was disgusting.
51 years ago, passed the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act. 50 years ago, the Voting Rights Act. Martin Luther King was assassinated 47 years ago. Malcolm X 50 years ago. But yeah, we have a black president now. But yeah, it totally feels like we've set race relations back 50 years because of a complicated Department of Justice report, which almost no one in the country paid attention to, by the way.
Yeah, despite our best efforts.
But listen, another layer of racism from Fox News. The report was about the community of Ferguson. And what did she say? She said Holder is of the criminal, by the criminal, for the criminal. She assumes the entire Ferguson community is criminals, right? That's who the report was about criminals. We set race relations back. Eric Holder set race relations back. No, Fox News sets race relations back every single day that they're on the air.